Hello and welcome everybody. Today's video is about how to do a training session correctly. And the reason why I do this video is because I had a couple of interesting conversations with existing athletes on Team RM training, but also with new athletes who just joined Team RM training. By the way, if you want to do this, go to rmtraining.com, fill out the program entry questionnaire, and this is how we get started. Something that actually surprised me, and maybe I was a bit naive to expect that everybody knew that or followed that rule. Hello and welcome everybody. Today's video topic is all about how to target the training session correctly, or how to make most use of a training session. And the reason why I make this video is because I had a couple of very interesting conversations with new athletes who just joined Team RM training. By the way, if you want to do this, go to rmtraining.com and there is a section called training programs, and this is where you fill out the program entry questionnaire. So I ask you a lot of detailed questions before we even start to work. Now back to the topic. And I realized that a lot of new athletes perceived a good training session to be high intensity, very demanding, and that the result had to be that my athletes felt wasted and spent because of the high intensity. And there was a general consensus among new athletes that, oh, if a training session is not high intensity, if I'm not completely spent and wasted and very exhausted and tired, it was not a good training session. And this is something that I believe is simply not true and not right. In order to help you understand from which corner I'm coming from in terms of a coach and in terms of training philosophy, let me give you a quick background about what I do. When I work with athletes as a coach, I'm not in a position where I get to choose from 100 different athletes and I have to build maybe 2 8s. And it is okay if 80% of my team does not like the training plan or cannot simply cope with the training plan or is not robust enough to follow the plan. That's not okay for me. Every single athlete I work with has to make it, has to improve, has to become faster. And therefore, over the course of years, I had to come up with methods, plans, also about technique explanations that simply work. There is no option B. And I started to work as a coach on a frequent basis when I was 14. I taught beginners how to row. That was my first job as a coach. And ever since then, I'm 38 now, turning 39 this year. Ever since then, I've worked with people in the rowing field from all walks. So complete beginners, masters, late starters, kids. I've built up a team of kids. It was awesome. But I've also worked with Olympic athletes, with World Championship athletes. I've built people up from complete novices to World Championship level. Whoever I worked with, I never had large teams. I was always working with individuals or small teams. So my prime concern was nobody's left behind. That doesn't mean that I'm doing one average plan that is too little for the strong ones and too hard for the not so good ones. It's more about individualizing everything. What makes a good training session are a couple of points. First of all, you have to roughly understand the training plan and a specific training session. Behind every training session, there should be a larger plan. Why do you do this session today? Why can't you just mix that session with something else? Why are there specific sessions on the plan this week and why not last week? And why is it that I know exactly what we're going to do in 345 days from today? Because everything follows a certain plan. There are general ideas in scientific training planning that the body responds to certain training loads and recovers during the recovery with a supercompensation. That's one of the key principles in training planning. So the supercompensation essentially means you subject the body to a certain training load, and the body never want to get into that position again, and then into that situation, which is potentially life-threatening because it is exhausting. So it overcompensates. So instead of going back to the original level of fitness it had, it overcompensates a little more. If you don't do anything, it will level out again. If you continue to play this game, you will increase your overall performance capacity. That's a very simple explanation of how supercompensation works and what the general principle of training is, but it's not so simple because people don't always react the way you think they react as a coach. And secondly, everybody is made a bit different. And rowing is kind of a tricky sport to coach at because, as I've said in many other videos, it's not sprint and it's not endurance, and the body has to be able to do things which it naturally is not so good at. It's strength/endurance over a medium time span, which is more than 15 to 20 seconds in less than half an hour on the average. So 3 to 7 minutes, 1K to 2K distances, so 3 to 10 minutes. So how do you do this? You have to plan very wisely. And in order to make an athlete gain quickly fitness, you have to make the athlete understand why you do a certain session. There's got to be a structure and a reasoning behind. And my athletes know that there's practically a reason behind everything I do. Everything I put on a plan, there's a reason for that. It's not just, yeah, I heard that they do that. No, I tried it out before. That's how it works. So it's important for me that my athletes understand the goal of a plan and also the goal of a session. If this is given and you perceive this goal to be worthy to work for, chances are, and there are actually quite a number of interesting papers about this, the benefit of a training session is greater if you understand why you do it and if you perceive this to be the right way or path to achieve this goal. Then would you not understand why you do something, or where you forced with so-called extrinsic motivation, so someone pushes you to do it? So that never works as well. Generally, I think intrinsic motivation, so motivation that comes from the inside, is more effective than motivation that comes from the outside, which is extrinsic motivation. This is why I never motivate my people. Either it comes from you or it's not there. I found it to be not very rewarding for both parties if I try to apply a lot of extrinsic motivation. I can create intrinsic motivation. That's a different ballgame, but that's not so easy. But I like to do this. So point number 1, understand the goal of a plan and the goal of a session. That's absolutely key. Now, point number 2, if you know why you do something, it is much easier to do step number 2, right? To follow the routine in details. So if it says 10 minutes of mobilization prior to the main part of the training, you shouldn't do mobilization like, shoulder rotation, arm, 1 minute done, okay. What else? You should do it properly. So properly means if it says mobilization, do it correctly. You know, mobilization is all about a full rotation, maximum rotation. Take your time, become good at that. And I'm not a particular fan of belay, but I think that the accuracy these people have is phenomenal and it is worthwhile attaining. Why not? If we do mobilization, why not do it as well as if we're ballet dancers fully paid at the State Opera? Why not? You know, why do mobilization this way if we could focus on the motion and do things properly? Take our time. That's important. Don't care about what somebody else may think or not. If you rotate your hips prior to a race, do it. If other people think, hey, this is a samba dancer or what, who cares? You know, the answer is going to be in the race course later on, not during warm-up. Okay, so that's important. Do the things properly. If it says core, you know, the rough core workout everybody knows on YouTube, it's about perfection. It's not about how many sets can you do. It's about how well can you do the sets. And I'd rather have you do 1 set instead of 2, but do it well. It's about the effect. No, it's not about the numbers. Say success is a numbers game. It is. It is. But there shouldn't be empty numbers. So make them count. That's important. Step number 3, that's very, very important, ladies and gents. Stick to the target intensities. And this is probably the most important point about this video. Still recording? It is, yeah. So stick to intensities, follow the breaks. These are the essentials. Let me explain why we do something. If it says, for example, 10 minutes U, 10 minutes M, 10 at O, and 10 at 3, for everybody who's not on my team, these are low endurance intensities, but we have a lot of variation. And 10 at 3 is just underneath the anaerobic threshold level. And if it says 10 at 3 should be done with a stroke rate of 21 to 23, you should never hop around at 25. It's not meant to be. And if it says you should have an average heart rate, or you should have a momentary heart rate of 166, if this is your individual zone, you should not have 178. And if it says it should feel like a 2.5 or a 3, and you say, I don't know, it could be 4.5, why do you do this? It's meant to be a 3, not more than that. The thing is, If you have, for example, 10 minutes at 3 on the plane and you do 10 minutes at 5, the impact on your body is a different one. It's not what we intended to do. So all of the rest of the plan is not going to work as well. Of course it's going to work, but not as well. This could be done much better. So it's important to stick to the target intensities. There's a thought behind everything. When I work with people here in Vienna, we usually do a lot of lactate testing. Is this 3.1 mil of lactate or is it 2.9? That's the difference. If you can't measure lactate, become a freak about the other parameters, except heart rate. Heart rate can be deceiving. So I've said this in different videos. Just a quick reminder, check heart rate every 3 to 5 minutes. Most important thing is watts or 500 meter split. Set your cruise control to a certain speed and check your perceived load, so what it feels like every couple of minutes, and your heart rate every couple of minutes, and then adjust accordingly. That's important. Just a little side note here. Okay, and last but not least, and there's so many more points to be careful about, but last but not least, don't do a sprint towards the end of a session. I know a lot of teams like to do this, but it's nonsense. Let's say you've done a 10K row, a 15K row, a 25-kilometer row, whatever you do, and the last 500 meters to the dock you sprint. That's not smart, and there's a clear physiological reason behind that. If you sprint, chances are you're going to be anaerobic. If you're anaerobic, a lot of lactate is produced in your body, but it's not being reused to produce more ATP, so the prime source of energy for the muscle. So where does this go? Well, eventually it's going to be deteriorated by mechanisms in the body, but that eventually is a pretty variable time span. So it doesn't make a lot of sense. The thing is, towards the end of a session, you should make sure that not a lot of lactate is still in your system. This is why we have cool down periods after races and after intense training sessions. If that's not given, when you're young, you're 25, 30, 35, nobody cares. But 45, you do this on a frequent basis, where do you think all this lactate and all the other parts that the body could not use to generate more ATP, where do you think this is going? It's floating around your system. Eventually, this may lead to heart problems. If there's a lot of stuff floating around your blood circuits, it has to bypass all these little gates you have in your body, to put it in a very simple way. So this is not healthy. This is why we do cool down. And this is why we do clean out sessions after strength training days or after intense training days. There's a reason behind everything. What I do not want you to do as my athletes, you should not follow my plans blindly. You should question everything and you should ask me, say, hey, why do we do this? Why do we do that? And so on, and so on, and so on. But eventually you have to find yourself trusting a certain system. Otherwise the plan won't work. I hope this is physiologically speaking logical to you. If not, please put it in the comments. And again, I'm very open to discussions and remarks and ideas, and also to criticism. I'm by far not perfect. I'm not Mr. Know-it-all. Just because I've been coaching for, how long is that now? 20, 25 years? Is that possible? Yeah, almost 24 years. It doesn't mean I know everything. There's so much I don't know. So if you have constructive criticism, please let me know. Go to rowing.zone. My user is @aram. I'm looking forward to your comments. All right, everybody. Thank you for watching the video. If you want to help me grow that channel and you think it deserves a couple more subscribers or shares, just share the video and subscribe and like it. That's good. It's good for the YouTube algorithm. And higher the YouTube algorithm ranks me, the more time I can invest in making these videos. And the more you benefit. Everybody, thanks for watching. If you want to work with us, go to rmtraining.com. And if you want to see the next video, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I'm looking forward to see you then. Bye-bye.